LEGO has finally revealed the first sets coming out in 2026. Only 3 of them so far revealed, but all of them will be dropping January 1st. So the second the new year comes, these will be available. Unfortunately, there aren't any play sets. It seems to be 3 18 plus sets. However, they all do have one common issue, and I'm sure you can guess what it is. For now though, let's dig into this and talk about the Venator. Come January 1st, we'll have access to the LEGO midi-scale Venator class attack cruiser. This build isn't going to surprise you, it's pretty much exactly what you expected, however that is not a bad thing, because it is a gorgeous looking model. The midi-scale line is phenomenal. It does so good at creating affordable models that also just look terrific. It's UCS quality but shrunken down, and so it makes it an affordable set for everyone. Well, affordable in theory. In the grand scheme of LEGO, $80 isn't insane, however for this set I think it kind of is. We're looking at a piece count of 643, which might not seem too far off, but you also got to remember these pieces are so small. $80 for this seems a bit high. Personally, I believe $70 would be the top end of the set. But you know what, you can always just wait for a sale. Enough about that though, you could talk about LEGO's bad pricing all day. However, let's just talk about this build, which is phenomenal. Its shaping is perfect. I love how thin it is, as well as the design. Again, the overall blueprint just fits well. A part of this build that really stands out to me is the back engines. For some reason, those look extremely good. The barrel pieces work perfectly as the engines. They look like a great size, a good fit, and they make up quite a big chunk of the Venator. I'm also surprised about the bridge. I thought that was done well, especially considering the scale. That can be pretty challenging, but the shaping there as well just looks spot on, all the way from the top of the bridge to where it connects to the main hull. Right in that same area, you'll notice it's also very smooth, lots of tiles, except for these cannons, which are a great use of the bucket handle piece. It's a bucket handle, but inverted, so that way it's pointing out and looks like blasters on the side. A really good parts usage for those iconic big turrets on the side. Below those, you have a hanger on the side with the blue transparent piece, which adds some extra life to this build. I would have liked to maybe see a couple more of those throughout. The bridge, for example, I know it's kind of small and I'm not exactly sure how they would have been able to fit it in, but even just one piece up there would have really helped it. The last thing I'll mention is that the red nose, thankfully, is brick built and not a sticker, especially at that triangular section on the very end. I know it would have been very easy for LEGO just to make that a sticker, but they didn't, and that's very appreciated. Because as much as I would prefer printed pieces, I'm sure these other logos and red tiles are not. Now, unfortunately, there is no hanger underneath, but there are a couple little specks hidden under there that kind of give the illusion of it, or at least are an Easter egg to Obi-Wan and Anakin starfighters. One last quick note is that this set's going to look great with the invisible hand. However, it's actually retiring at the end of 2025, which is a really bad move by LEGO. If you're going to release the Venator, why wouldn't you at least hold the invisible hand out for at least a year longer? Making them both available at the same time is just a no-brainer. They go together, it makes sense. But I guess LEGO just didn't want to. I don't know what that's about. Normally they're pretty good about leaving sets on shelves if there's a set that works really well with it coming. Case in point, Obi-Wan's Jedi Starfighter to Jango Fett Slave 1. I guess they're just dropping the ball here, so if you want the invisible hand to go with the Venator, make sure to pick it up as soon as possible. The next set is another one in the midi-scale line, and that's an AT-AT. Once again, I'll start with the price as it is the common theme. $65, not ideal. It's kind of like the Venator. The price isn't egregious, but it's also not good. Definitely could have dropped $10 off the price and had a much better product on their hands. Both these sets feel like their price point was just shot up an extra $10, and with how the community has felt about prices lately, this is just going to add fuel to the fire. Again though, we're not done talking about prices on this list, so I'll just move on for now. Talking about the build specifically, I love it. It's another great one. The MIDI scale has not missed yet. Build quality in this line of sets is unmatched. They're all so good and I almost never have any complaints. This is just another case of that. And truthfully, the AT-AT might have a candidate, and truthfully, the AT-AT might be a candidate for my favorite MIDI scale set yet. It's definitely in the top 5. First off, the AT-AT vehicle. Looks great. They never mess this build up. The main hull of the body is simple and captures the shape perfectly. No complaints. It looks like a size down model of the playsets. The head, you can tell things were getting a little tight, but it still looks very good. The red eyes of the cockpit as well are extremely menacing, and a nice touch. Helps add a little extra character to this build. And truthfully, the more I look at it, the more I fall in love with the shaping of the head and the body. The legs are a little clunkier than the top pieces, but not distracting in any way. And they still work extremely well. The posability of them is something I question. In every picture, I'm kind of deep diving into them to see if there's any other positions the legs are in, or if I can see the pieces used. It's hard to tell if they're going to be able to move on their own or not. Based on this front-facing picture, it looks like not. It appears they're going to be stuck in place as the position you see on screen, which is unfortunate, but I get it in this scale. However, I could be wrong. It's extremely hard to tell. If they do move, great, that's an awesome bonus. If they don't, I'll cut them some slack because it's a display set, but I would really think they'd be able to move. I guess that'll have to be something we see in person. Finally, the last detail I need to talk about, and something that really makes the set stand out from all other midi-scale sets, is the snowspeeder. Having a second little side build to put this AT-AT in perspective is a great choice, just like it was with the Super Star Destroyer. This snowspeeder, however, works even better in this set as they include a tow cable with it so you can actually wrap the legs. Have the snowspeeder in mid-flight wrapping the legs about to trip it. That combined with the legs looking like they're in motion adds a lot of fluidness to this build. Makes it feel like it's in motion and live, which is something that's extremely hard to capture in LEGO, so it's really cool that we're getting a set here from Star Wars that does it so well. The more I've talked about this set, the more I think it's probably the best midi-scale set they've released yet. Although it's really hard to talk in absolutes because there's been so many great sets from that line, but it looks like another one's joining the ranks. The final set revealed for January 1st is BB-8. Another return to the sequels, which is kind of a shock, but BB-8 is one of the few characters you can't really hate. Plus his ball droid design is really compelling. It's unique and makes for a good LEGO build. However, here LEGO tried something different. They made this set before, but a while ago, and it was built more traditionally, with bricks, not as many slopes or disc pieces. And I have a hard time comparing them because they're so different. I think they both have their pros and their cons. This one's much smoother because studs aren't showing as often. However, I do feel like it's a little more boxy. The sphere shape isn't as apparent as it is on the other build. This set though is perfectly serviceable in its own right. The ball on the bottom is the big focal point, and it matters a lot. That is the biggest issue in it. However, I can admit the head is definitely better. The shaping there is immaculate, very smooth and spherical. However, again, the lower body is the bigger part of this build and is going to make more of an impact to your eyes when you're looking at it. I will note there's also an option to pop out his little torch and do that thumbs up like he did in the movie. I love that functionality and I love that it's there. I just wish it looked a little better. When you open up his body, there's a lot of discoloration and it doesn't look all that great. I wouldn't leave it out displayed like this, which is another knock against it, as you definitely could have with the other one. This isn't a bad set by any means, but the more I look at it, the more I just see a cube with dishes on the side. I really wish they did just a little bit more with the build. The spherical shape isn't coming across quite as well as it probably should be. Alright, I haven't talked about price on this one yet, and for good reason, because despite everything else I already said, what makes this set so terrible is the price. This set has 596 pieces, and somehow costs $90. There are some big dish pieces in there on the sides, but where is this price coming from? 569 pieces for $90 does not make sense at all. This is easily the worst price set of the wave, and whereas the others I felt like were just $5 or $10 off, this one is way out of bounds. And is just going to be another set I feel like people use as ammunition against LEGO, calling them overpriced, which, can be valid. It's been getting worse and worse. That's a topic for a different video, however. For now, we'll just remain to these reveals. Overall, I like them. Discounting the price, the midi-scale sets are perfect. BB-8 leaves something to be desired, but if it was a lower price, I probably wouldn't find myself being as harsh on it. But let me know your opinions down in the comments on these sets. Are you going to pick them up day one? Or are you going to wait for a sale? Let me know all of that down in the comments below. Like and subscribe for more. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.